We don't want to yuck anyone's yum.
No.
But it made me feel uncomfortable.
The phrase yuck my yum does yuck me, I would say.
Damn it, I yucked your yum.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's the yum part that feels the most yucky to me, weirdly. So...
Kevin and John have not had much going on for the last 20 years that they've been friends. Still they miss that hit show that was on HBO. But it's time to whip them cosmopolitans. Now they're just two dudes watching Sex in the City. And they're probably gonna miss the coins. Cause they're Sex in the City, oh. Sex in the City, oh. Sex in the City, oh.
How did this I'm in love with Bunny McDougal algorithm find me? It's hard to say. Who can say? We can say. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sex and the City. My name's Kevin McCaffrey, and I'm here.
I'm John, Mr. Bunny McDougal Daily.
He really is. Wearing some of the greatest merch we have at Sex and the City. It's on Instagram, at Sex City It's Pod on Twitter, and on Instagram we'll just have a glamour shot of John in this beautiful shirt that is standing our icy cold queen, Bunny McDougal.
Yes.
How are you, John? Everything cool? I mean,
I'm good.
No.
Also, just a note for the listeners. In this, my wife often makes fun of me for how high I wear my pants. I'm of the old school, Kevin. I say the belt goes where the navel is. That's where the belt is. It's weird to me that I've never noticed that you go that high up on it. This is a white shirt. The thing is white, and you can tell. I think you can tell where my belt is and where my nipples are, basically.
I can tell where your nipples are.
So it's as you and the kids would say, it's a thirst trap picture. But
it is.
You can tell that my nipples and my belt are like, I don't know, 8 inches apart, maybe.
Okay, yeah, I don't know how far nipples and belts should be apart, but I do know my belt, I would say, is probably 3 inches below my bell butt.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, I mean, you could probably see some bush. If you
definitely cannot. Yeah. You can see
you keep it trimmed down there, but I'm saying if you just let it grow naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I just went real 70s with it, for sure. Yeah. You can see my oblique muscles that you like so much, John.
The gutters de cum, as they say in France.
Le goutte de jizz. Yes. John, this episode is called Pick a Little, Talk a Little. And, of course, it was about what?
It's about Carrie's brief but torrid love affair with Rich Little. But soon his many impressions proved too much.
I think we've said this before, but we often feel old. We're in our mid-30s, so we're not the oldest. But it's weird because we're such kind of... We are kind of comedy nerds and like old school comedy nerds. And so our references, I think, skew us even older than we actually are. But yeah, Rich Little. Classic Johnny Carson guest.
I'm going to defend myself a little bit here. Rich
Please.
Little appeared in a Futurama episode around 2002. So only 18 years ago, he was...
Hey, that's around
making a guest appearance.
That's near the time when this episode aired, which was July 13th, 2003. You know it popped a devilish 6.6 rating. And it was...
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. Unsubscribe. Throwback. And it was directed by David Frankel, who also directed the last episode and two ones before that. And it was written by Julie Rottenberg and Alyssa Zaritsky.
Can I have a glass of alcohol when you get a chance?
Good for you.
Just played the alcohol soundbite. And you... So, John, what are you drinking this evening?
I've got, I'm back on, well, first of all, I had one of these bad boys earlier. It's a Victory Sour Monkey. Very good. 9.5%, very strong beer. And it tastes great. A good sour beer is worth its weight in gold, my friend.
That's a really unique drink choice. I am rocking. I feel like I've been very basic bitch whiskey Coke lately, But I got a new...
Oh, I'm doing that too.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. You're doubling up. I'm rocking Jim Beam, which I don't usually do, but that was your college jam, I remember.
I love Jim Beam, man.
Mm-hmm. You know the Jim Beam commercials where like Mila Kunis is being sexy and ordering Jim Beam at a bar? One of the least realistic commercials I've ever seen in my life. If anyone has seen Mila Kunis order Jim Beam rocks in the wild, please DM us. There's no way that's happened in the last 20 years of her life. And I like Jim Beam fine, but that's just there is no way Mila Kunis is ordering Jim Beam rocks. That's
a stiff drink, dude. You know what they should do is just have her like one of those Dunk-a-Tank things, but instead of water, she goes into a barrel of Jim Beam whiskey.
God, we should do that to raise fun because we'd like it. We'd drink our way out. John, I think this was a fun episode. I'll say that as we get into
I was saying, I was looking at my notes like, damn, there's a lot of room on this page to write more items. So I don't know if that's the 9.5% beer not writing things down, or if that's just because there wasn't like a ton of stuff to dig into.
There was a couple of big things. I'll read the HBO recap before we get into it.
Sure.
So Carrie and Berger articulate their sentiments for each other. God, that could not be any more coldly written. But then she offends him. Meanwhile, Charlotte gets so carried away preparing her first Sabbath dinner for Harry that she drops the matzo ball. Miranda is liberated by Berger's perspective on dating and men. And Samantha revels in role-playing fantasies with Jerry.
And I gotta say, I enjoyed the matzo ball line. Drop the matzo ball.
Yeah, this person, you can tell, I think the person who wrote this is a writer. The person who wrote this recap is a writer, and not all of them are. Seems like some of them were interns forced into a gig. This one is like, this person probably writes. This episode had a couple of big-ass things, and we'll get into them, but like things that I recognize and that were pop culture things that were references that come up a lot.
Right. One that got turned into a movie. I'm talking about the rape fantasy people.
Quick rape fantasy. Real opening with the rape fantasy and a swerve on Carrie's. It was the most off-putting thing to me this episode. An episode I liked was Carrie's light voiceover at the beginning where Samantha's, you know what's going on. You know she's doing a role-playing thing, and that's fine. Sex-positive podcast, obviously.
Yes, we don't want to yuck anyone's yum.
No.
But it made me feel uncomfortable.
The phrase yuck my yum does yuck me, I would say.
Damn it, I yucked your yum.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's the yum part that feels the most yucky to me, weirdly. So, this is what you come here for. Where Carrie's like, every 7 seconds, a woman in New York, and then you think she's going to say gets assaulted, and she's like, dates an actor. It's like, well, fuck. It's a weird swerve. It's a weird setup and punch, but I'm glad they're having a good time, for sure.
Yeah, there's some very sexy vacuuming happening at first, which I thought was just like the weirdest part for me. But yeah, the rape fantasy comes in a little bit, but it's like, no way does Samantha do her own vacuuming. No, not a chance.
Good call. That is also a fantasy. 100%. Yes, that is. She is not a vacuumer. And I also wrote down all caps sexy vacuuming to open.
Because it is sexy, though. I mean, she does it very well. And it's a black vacuum cleaner, the sexiest color for a vacuum cleaner. Do you think she bought this vacuum cleaner specifically for the fantasy?
Well, I think she bought it as a dildo.
And now walk me through the process, Kevin.
You saw her at Sharper Image, and I think she was running around, and she thought this shoulder massager is not getting the job done.
No, I get that. No, Does she put the whole handle? Does she put the handle in it, or does she ride it around like a witch's broomstick and it just vibrates?
I think she thought the first thing first, and then it turns out it's more of a riding it like a broomstick deal, and now that didn't really work, so now she just vacuums with it. But she ended up accidentally using it for what it's intended for, I guess.
Great. Well, it's a good thing she had it laying around the house, because she's doing the sexy vacuuming, and then we see a gloved hand open the door. And it seems like we're going to see some shit go down.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out it's old Jerry.
The shit that goes down is an actor named Jerry. Yeah.
He's here. There's a lot of shut the fuck up, I guess, gets shouted a lot.
There is a lot. It was a pretty funny sequence. I thought Sam was funny this whole episode. But yeah, there was a lot of shut the fuck up a bunch of times in a row. I did write down as a question, John, have you ever said shut the fuck up to a woman?
I don't know. It's weird. Actually, I haven't said shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I don't think. But I've said, like, I think I've heard enough. Like a couple of times, which is like, you know, it's still like not a great thing to say, probably.
No, but I bet you saying that, I bet it takes a lot to get you to that point. I don't think you take shit. I think you're easygoing, but you're not. But you're a man.
Right.
You don't get you like you're not a fucking pushover. I think you're a supportive guy. And you're welcome.
It wasn't even like a thing that was like writing me down. It wasn't like a thing directed at me. It was just someone who will remain nameless was caught in a loop, I think, and they were saying a thing.
Oh yeah,
backing up that statement, and then being like, "And that's why this happened," and that's why I had to respond like this. And
yes,
I was like, you know what? I think I heard it all. I think
Oh God! Yes, I've absolutely had that where I'm like, I was being supportive in your description of this argument that's going on for as long as I could, and now I think I've gone with not. I don't say I've heard enough, but I just slowly shrink into a corn cob, and then just like I'm just not gonna say anything anymore. Like I'm not even gonna give it a I'm like I shrink into a corn cob and then just let it run out of gas.
I'm not actually surprised in this episode. Well, I guess my expectation was someone like the neighbors were gonna do something, because they're not saying this quietly at all. I mean, they're saying like shut the fuck up and shit like that at like full volume. And I don't think that he shut the door because he's a burglar. I don't remember that exactly.
Yeah, how committed is he to it? Right.
He just binds her and they go to town
and then
doing that crazy thing we call rape fantasy.
Yes. And are you a role play guy, John?
You know what? I've dabbled, but really, it really disintegrates quickly into sex. It's like
With you, how could it not?
Veneer of like, I'm a sexy nurse. I'm here to take your temperature or whatever, and then then come the butt plugs.
Then come the butt plugs. I'm just hearing that in a Morgan Freeman voiceover. And then came the butt plugs.
But it's like, oh, you're a sexy nurse. This is how unexpected or whatever. And then bow chicka bow.
I've not really gone with the commitment level that they show throughout this episode.
Exactly.
I haven't done that really.
Oh, doing it in public for sure. That comes later. But yeah, they have costumes that they wear out in public. I like
any different outfit that, and as we've talked about before, the sexy outfit reveal. The sexiest thing about it is that sex is about to happen, I think, and then they're also fun to look at. And let's change it up. That's cool. But it's like I've never stayed in character very long,
Right.
But they're having fun, and the version of the brunch that happens in this episode is basically 4 ladies to 1 dude dinner right off the bat. So they're introducing your gentleman,
Jack Beef.
Mm-hmm, Jack Beef.
Jack that beef. And this is like a format that I think that happens in this show more often than I've seen it ever happen in real life, where it's like for the core set of friends and then 1 person for the first time, instead of like, we're going to have a party and bring your new boyfriend by. So it's like an easier thing to like bounce around or whatever. Cause now it's like, there's the council of friends against 1 person.
I've definitely been in that scenario.
Yeah. But you're a slick guy. You're suave. You're smart. You're sexy.
John,
people get it.
Well, I mean, ditto, obviously. Everyone knows this if they've listened to this many episodes. I mean, I wrote down that for a question for you, because what's happening here, Jack Berger is hanging out with the friends, and he's kind of killing it. Like, they all like him. Yeah. They all like this guy, and he's being friendly and like joking, but not too much, which I think is key in a situation like that. It's an away game. You got to be.
Right.
You got to be. You can't be silent. You have to talk. But you should be. I think if you find yourself as a guy in a situation where it's you, the girl, and all of her friends early on, you should be. Most of your talking should be reacting. I think it should be. You should be asking questions, and you should be engaging everyone else on their turf, basically. And that's what he's doing. And so he's like just adding little things here or there. He's not being silent. Don't do that, because then all of her friends will think you're a serial killer, and maybe you are.
You want to glare as much as possible. You just want to glower. You want to sort of, if you can have a shadow across your face, that's even better.
Yes,
really sets the tone.
Hell yeah. And then he's like being fun, and then Miranda starts talking about a date she had. And
well, before that happens, if I could interject for one moment.
Yes.
Samantha, who gets done talking about her I just want to call it RFs now, but she's talking about how fun it is to do that. And then, he has a good line. He's talking about like, as a guy, I just try to steer clear of rape and anything in the rape vicinity, basically. And it's like, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then Samantha takes a phone call from her boyfriend at the table with all her friends at this date.
While Miranda's telling her new dating story.
Yeah.
It's rude.
Oh, it's absolutely rude. And then not just like answering the phone, but then being like, oh, wait, I'm out of here. I'm going to go get laid. See ya.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, yeah. It's just Samantha's midlife crisis is happening before our eyes.
Right, and she's enjoying it, so fucking God bless. But also that's the kind of behavior that you overlook when you're in your late teens, early 20s, when having sex is a new thing in general, I think. Sure. And you're just like, you can actually make it with a lady? God, dude, of course, bail on anything. Go do what you're going to do. But yeah, Sam, you're 43 to 44 years old at this point, that you can listen to your friend's story before you go get your nut, Yeah,
how long's this story going to be? You can wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then, like, she probably didn't even come back and being like, hey, smell my fingers about her date that she just had.
John, I'm going to do a supercut of our shows where just you saying smell my finger.
Have you ever asked anyone to smell your finger, Kevin? It's pretty cool.
John, you take a guess. Do you think?
I mean, you've never asked me, but I have smelled your fingers before. Yeah, there's like a usual suspects montage where I'm sniffing your fingers while you don't even notice.
Yeah, during the 9 years where we lived together, and we would have our daily handshake, and you would. I feel like there were times when you draw it towards your face.
Yeah.
No, of course I've never said
M&Ms.
Of course I've never said smell my finger to anybody. So whatever. But Miranda's talking about her date, and she's like, yeah, we had a good time, but then the guy didn't come up. He had an early morning. And the girlfriends, this is fun, and I've seen this dynamic happen too, where it's a bunch of supportive ladies. Yeah, everyone's just looking for a reason why the guy does like her early. And that comes from a good place, because they want their friend to be happy, and they're being optimistic, and that's good. But frequently that's not the case, obviously. And he says a famous phrase, he's just not that into you, which then became a book and a movie and all that stuff. Greg Berent was a stand-up comic, and he wrote all that stuff. And
he wrote that? Man, that wasn't I would have guessed that would have been a woman-centric or a woman-created sort of book.
I mean, I think it was sort of this is from the dude's perspective, which is what. So Jack Beef is the Greg Berent surrogate here, I guess, where it's just like,
Does this predate that, or it does predate that? Surely.
Predate right? What?
The book and the movie.
Yeah, well, Greg was in the writer's room. Greg was a writer this season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is where it comes from.
Oh, so this was his brainchild, and okay, cool.
But it's silly because it's sort of it was a cultural catchphrase and whatever, but it is a thing, and it's an answer to a lot of questions about a lot of relationships she or he either way is just not that into you, is how a lot of these things end. And I thought it was really, well, it was funny how, like, the ladies were shocked and then trying to be like, no, and
right.
especially
but
Charlotte.
What about these things that happen? And then, you know, he had an early meeting. He, you know, had to call his mother or whatever. You know,
Yes.
like all the excuses. Like, oh yeah, nope. Each one of these is he's not that into you. He's
Charlotte,
just not that.
Yes, and Charlotte also had a dynamic where I think when women are newly in a relationship they're very excited about, they're much more enthusiastic about everyone else's relationships too. And that's what Charlotte demonstrates here, where she's happy in her relationship at the beginning of the episode. And she's like...
Why would you frame it like that, Kevin?
I don't know, man. I don't know. So... She's like, no, it just means he's nice. He's, you know, he's being respectful, whatever. And
he's being respectful.
He's not tapping that ass, and that's respectful. And then
I'm gonna bow to that ass. I respect it.
Namaste, that ass. What I liked, though, and I thought Miranda was really fun all this episode. And I heard from a source within my house that Miranda's hair and she look great all season. So that's just an extra Miranda note.
Those unnamed sources.
Yes, Jamie source.
Miranda's hair has been looking very good recently.
Yeah. I love that Miranda loved the advice. Everyone acted like Jack Beef really was saying something offensive. And Miranda's like, I love this. Fuck it. I mean, basically, it's just fuck it. If they're not into you, they're not into you. Yeah, that is free.
Right. Then it's not like, yeah, it's weird because it has become such a cultural thing. It's weird. It's like the first person that said like, thank you or whatever.
Yeah, the Mr. Show sketch,
the Mr. Show thing. But it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. He's just not that into you. Like, was that a revelatory thought? Like the theory of gravity, even where it's like some guy had to write down that gravity existed. Y'all haven't seen things fall before?
Y'all motherfuckers never get doinked on the head by a book or a lava lamp falling off something?
Yeah. The lava lamp fell out of a tree, hit Newton on the head, and we have gravity.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just not that into you. It seems like it would be a common enough thought.
But it makes sense that Miranda would click with this guy for that reason, too. And let's just finish the Miranda storyline, because there's not much to it. She then goes on another date, and as they're leaving the restaurant...
Yeah, he is... Well, before that, even she does talk to two other lady lawyers on the steps of City Hall or wherever the fuck she works. And I wrote down woman-splains because it's Miranda trying to
teach they're younger.
This concept to other women.
Yeah,
about he's just not that into you, and then walks away, and then they are like, who does this lady think she is? That sort of thing. But like presumably they'll see the light eventually when their prospective people never call back or whatever.
She's trying to be like, I hope this saves you a lot of, time and worry and stuff.
Trying to spread the gospel.
Totally. And it's good. And I mean, that general vibe is something like that. That's been my perspective. Like, I don't chase. You know what I mean? Like, I've never, because you can't convince someone to like you. You know what I mean?
Kevin's like, hey, you can either go or you can come. You know what I'm saying, lady?
The classic John Daly, Kevin McCaffrey impression.
Kevin, I've heard you say that. I remember. Anyway,
but and then she goes on a date. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, she goes on a date, and then they're going to an Indian restaurant. And I don't know if this is like a feature of many Indian restaurants in Manhattan, or if it's. But I think I've seen like where they have like the crazy lights hanging down off the ceiling. Or if this is like, it's an Indian restaurant and they come out and they're laughing, they're having a good time, seemingly. And they're talking about, oh, maybe we should go get coffee. Now, this, to me, though, going to get coffee or tea or something at another place is not the same as an ask up to the apartment.
Oh, absolutely it's not.
Right. But that's she didn't ask him, oh, let's go get coffee at my apartment. They were like, let's go to a second location, right?
Oh, okay. Maybe. Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's what I kind of assumed. Anyway, he declines, and then she goes off on him like, "Oh, okay, I know what this is. You're not into me." And he's like, "No, I really am."
But she did it in a nice way.
Nealon to me.
Oh,
by the way,
Kevin Nealon vibe.
Yeah, I got a Kevin Nealon vibe.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I do think she did it in a nice way. It seemed like she was like, I get it. Like, it's I don't think she was aggressive.
She wasn't aggressive at first, but the more the conversation went on, she was just like, give it up, you fucker. I know.
Sure. Yeah.
I know what your coded language is about.
She did push him to reveal. And then what was the big reveal, John?
The big reveal. And like, I was in my head, I was like, all right, what's actually, this guy has a secret. What is it? Is like his mom dying or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was diarrhea. Who had diarrhea on their bingo card?
And and then he just turns and walks away.
He doesn't. Yeah. Is he even hustling that bad?
Yeah, because that's the tell, right?
That's right. Yeah. And like, by the way, the next place you go to probably will have a bathroom.
Yeah. Oh man, especially if it's a coffee shop. Coffee shops are really just bathrooms with a side business for the most part. The business is the bathroom, like at least in New York it is. Yeah. But that's it. That's the Miranda storyline. Boom, knocked out Miranda. Should we just knock out Sam next?
Yes, and just a circle back on Miranda super quick.
Sure.
She said this date with the guy with the loose butthole. She was like, "Oh, Charlotte set me up with him," right? I mean, they did say that. I remember them saying that, but I don't remember that happening at all. All right. Anyway, that was a Charlotte setup. So Charlotte knows a lot of guys with a lot of leaky poos, I guess.
It's one of my favorite mixed dog breeds, the leaky poo. Sam she says to begin their sort of the night brunch, as I'll call it, their hangout. She's like, and we sort of touched on it before, but she says fantasies are healthy and harmless, you know. So but her fantasy situation with her guy this episode, it's all fantasy all the time is the thing. So it's not super harmless in that case, I guess, for the guy, because he starts feeling a little used, I guess,
because of an important thing, because he shares something about himself, and then like Samantha runs for the hills, and it's a pretty Sam's the bad guy here. Oh, absolutely, it's not a good look. So not a good. Tell
me what happens, John.
Well, they're playing. Also, Samantha during this one is wearing a dress that is sexy AF.
You into it? Yeah.
It's just a bunch of sequins on a string, like a web of strings, but like, damn, no fabric to speak of. Anyway, they're role playing at a bar. Was this the auditing one? Was this the accounting? No,
that was before.
Accounting. They do accounting. They do the RF. And what else do they do?
Well,
they
Secret Service eventually. There's a spy thing. There's the accounting one was the funniest to me.
It was funny
because he's sitting there with glasses and a tie and no shirt, and she's wearing a shirt, and she's doing a lot of good like "ooh me" faces, and she's doing that very well. I just wrote down, so the show Community basically turned into a thing where each episode would be like a genre parody, basically. And of some kind of film or TV show, whatever. I would watch a spin-off show, like a sex spin-off show of these two just doing an episode as a different thing every time. It was a funny sequence of things for the montage.
They should show that to high school kids as like guidance counselor stuff. Like, oh, you want a career in accounting? Well, this is what you expect.
You have to provide your own shirt. A lot of people don't know that.
Well, they're at
he's a detective, I think, ultimately is at the one, so when he reveals the thing.
Yes, it's a detective, and she orders 2 martinis, and he as a detective is like, no, make mine a seltzer. She's like, oh, because you're on duty, right? But you know what, we can make an exception. How about 2 martinis? And then he's like, no, seltzer. I went to AA, or I'm in AA.
I'm in AA. Sam, I'm in AA. Yeah.
And she's like, boner alert, boner drop.
Boner drop. Which, they've been having this much sex, and he hasn't had a drink, and she hasn't noticed. Girl, this is fine. What the fuck do you care if he's in AA? I mean, first of all, you should be supportive anyway, yada yada. Like of people trying to deal with, whatever they're.
Right.
If you like the person, you should be.
He's not even necessarily trying to like drop his story on you.
No!
It's like, I just can't drink a booze right now. Please, I'll still fuck you.
He could not be any more like chill and low key about it. He's still acting, by the way. He doesn't let his AA reveal take him out of this long-term role play in public,
Oh, that's such a wonderful point too, Kevin. That it's a good thing that this guy's an actor because no one else would have the range to pull off these roles.
Yes,
like honest to God, these fucking things anyone could do. I mean, like, sure, he's a sex god, but like,
sure, he's a
that's
buff.
Good.
Yeah,
but yeah, anyone can wear suspenders. Trust me.
Anyone can wear suspenders. So believe in yourselves, everybody. Yeah.
Anyway, he says AA, and she the blood leaves her body. She's out. She's had enough, and but I guess later on, they say a thing like, oh, they don't talk to each other for a while, but then she gets a call from her favorite secret agent.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, and she can't resist, and she shows up, and she's wearing all black and the black sunglasses. She's being very stealth. Doing role play in public is like is very dedicated.
Yeah, so then she gets to the table as a secret, as like a spy person, and then he says, yeah, I had a change of heart. I'm playing me tonight. And she says, like, she tells him outright, she's like, I don't want you to tell me all about you, and which is a pretty aggressive thing to say. But then she sort of does reveal things about herself. She says, like, I'm always the boss. I'm always right in my life. This is how, and then some other details. I don't know if you remember exactly, but.
No, I don't know. It was all like, I'm, the baddest bitch around. And he's
Sure.
like, yeah, okay, I get it. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was, that's what he did. And she's like, I don't want to know anything about you. And he's like, all right, but I'm going to tell you one thing about me. And then she like has an eye roll. And then he's like, my last name is Jared. Yeah. It just turns out my name is stupid. Isn't that interesting?
Right. My name's Jerry Jared. And she does find that charming. And guess what? Now they're having a real conversation. And then it seems like they're having fun. The voiceover was weird. The voiceover was almost like it was a series finale, and it was about those two. She's like, she was like, they each, that night, they came as themselves or something.
I get Samantha's hurt from her previous relationship. She doesn't want to get involved again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she acts like a big ass jerk, and she would. If he never wanted to talk to her again, he would have been right.
Absolutely.
But I guess he's loving it too.
Charlotte. Let's talk Charlotte.
Charlotte.
I just wrote very Jewish. She is at Zabar's, and do I know how to pronounce that? No, I don't. And she says, and she's like, while she's nailing up a thing on her apartment door.
It's a mezuzah.
I thought it was a mezuzah.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Who's the bad Jew now? Yeah,
she's putting the mezuzah on the door, and she's going, and I did enjoy this line, and I wrote it down. Carrie in the voiceover called her the Martha Jewart.
And then she sees her cookbook and said, in high school, Charlotte doodled, and now she joodles?
That one was less good to me.
Yeah. It really, some hardcore Jew puns in this episode for sure. And Carrie throws out maximum Jewish dad quote about the challah. And she says, you don't have to holla. And it made me barf for 40 minutes. It
was tough to watch this episode because I had to take the TV off the wall and put it into the toilet when she said that line. Yeah. And then I had to I had to go to a different TV to finish the episode.
Yeah, that is fair.
But it is very fun to see her attacking the ancient religion of Judaism with the fervor of a WASP housewife or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good fish, gefilte fish out of water. I think they said that, actually.
I'm not. And then Miranda, being a good friend, another reason to marry the woman already. She says she's asking, "Is there something? Did you get married? Is there something I don't know? Has there been a commitment of some sort?" And she says, "Like, no, we have an understanding. We don't have to talk." And man, that's I think a lot of people have been there.
Yeah. My wife was there for like at least
Your wife thought
years.
you had an understanding.
Yeah. No, that's good. My
when do you think your wife thought you should propose?
It's a good question.
Like
there was probably a few presidential administrations in there that would have been fine.
So your wife, I guess you guys got together right around the time Obama came into office is when you started dating.
Okay. I don't want to blame it all on Obama. But,
sure. Yes. Charlotte's picking her wedding date before the proposal too. So as this conversation happens and she's like, "No, we have an understanding." And then she's like, "Yeah, we'll probably get married in the fall or whatever." It's like she's got this whole narrative in her head that she has not included Harry on. But
right. But I wouldn't say she's completely out of order, as she has
absolutely not
taken 3 months of Judaism class. It does seem like someone should have said something at some point about where this relationship was going, as she's clearly not just becoming a Jew of her own volition.
Not only was the thing where he's Jewish and kind of looking at how how he's living his life in general. It's not a big part of his everyday, really. It's like everything that's everything particularly Jewish that Charlotte does surprises him, and he doesn't know how to deal with. So he told her specifically, "I have to marry a Jew." So he brought up marriage in this, and then she went through this whole process hard. She went all in on it. And for him to, and for him to not to act like that's not a part of it, which I do get because we get to a reveal later. But anyway, so
he's not even Jewish. That's the crazy thing.
I'm an Episcopalian. We both are.
He just promised his mother that he'd marry a Jewish woman.
She just loved Jews.
It's a crazy thing about Episcopalian mothers. They work all day. She solicits her friends to help her with this massive meal because it's the first Shabbos. I believe I'm saying that right.
Shabbos, yeah.
And that is on Friday night, and as everyone knows, and so she's wearing the traditional colonial pilgrim outfit of a Jewish woman.
Yep.
And he comes home. He's like, "Wow, what an amazing spread!" He's had a hard day at the office. He's ready for some good old Shabbos as well as everyone else. But also, there's the baseball game too. And you probably, I mean, it's when do you think this episode took place in?
Well, July 13th, 2003.
Right, and they're right in the middle of a pennant race. It's an important game. He's got to watch this one. He's got to watch every single pitch.
Yeah, at this point in the year, there's probably only 65, 70 regular season games left.
As she's saying the Shabbos prayer, she's taking it very seriously. Now, you know what? Maybe on a regular day, you don't have to. You can watch the baseball game while Shabbos is happening or whatever. Clearly, this is an important occasion to one participant, so you need to match that energy.
I mean, if this isn't the most be careful what you wish for, and not only wish, but actually kind of demand in those words that she become Jewish, you know what? You want a Jewish girlfriend? Guess what? Now you fucking got it, you dumbass. Now you have the most Jewish girlfriend who was Episcopalian a couple of months ago, but now she's the most Jewish woman you're ever going to meet, and this is what you get. So fucking deal with it, and like you say, this is a special night for her. She's putting a lot of effort into this. Right. Be fucking cool. And he is very much not cool about it.
He mutes the TV. He's like, "Oh, I'll turn off the TV. I'll mute it." Like, oh, that's cute. Are you 12 years old?
Yeah.
Like, busted. You still have the TV on. It's a very obvious ruse. Whatever. But anyway, she closes her eyes and does the solemn prayer or whatever, and then figures out you fucking lied to me. You lied to me during this sacred prayer that I really spent a lot of time to get into. Like, I gave up Christ for you is what she says. I gave up Christ for you, which, I mean, honestly, it doesn't seem like she was that into Christ necessarily.
Yes.
She was into Christmas and Easter and like the sort of like religious trappings, and that's great and that's fine, and that's celebrate really, however you want to celebrate.
One, especially because that's as into Judaism as he is.
Exactly. Yeah. So
she's all on the right side here, I think. And then she says, I gave up Christ for you. You can't give up the Mets, which is a good point. But then he is a good point to a point in response where he says, is this going to be the rest of our lives? Oh, I gave up Christ for you. Take out the trash. So do you just win every argument or every decision from here on out because you did this? Because, yeah, that would be fucked up. But also, this isn't everything.
Exactly. This is the first religious ceremony I've had as a Jewish woman.
It's disingenuous. Yeah. She's not saying give up the Mets for good. She's saying, can you take a fucking hour? By the way, baseball games are 3 hours. So you do not have to miss the entire game here. Also, buy a TiVo, my dude. We know Miranda's working it to watch her interracial British show that she loves so much. So, yeah, he's fucked up here. But then she has she kind of goes off the deep end. Classic freak out. She just starts yelling, set a date. Set a date. And it's like, you didn't even ask to be proposed to. You missed a whole step there before the set a date. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoy. This was actually of the things they do in this whole show. This might be like one of my as like a movie scene. It's not a movie; it's a TV show. But as a scene, it's like really good because the conversation definitely starts with like, "What did I do to deserve you?" And the other one's like, "I don't know. What did I do to deserve you?" So and then it ends up, I gave up Christ. What did you do? And then, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, when we walk down the street, do you know what people think? And he's like, yeah, I know what people think. I just didn't know you were one of them.
It's a good line.
It's a good line. Like, what have you done to deserve me? Is like basically what she says. So it's like a good like mirror of like, what did I do to deserve you? What have you done to deserve me?
Good call. Yeah, it's a really well-written scene that starts one place and ends extremely different. And it started with me being, as we just talked about, very much on Charlotte's side in the whole thing until she says this because she's trying to hurt him, back. But the thing is, you didn't make this up. It's the thing like I've talked about where sometimes I've gotten too drunk and accidentally said what I mean.
You were thinking.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I don't say things that I don't mean, really. So this is a case of that. And it's like, oh, fuck. You thought you were better than me, that you were like pity. Basically, it looks like you're pity fucking some troll is what now he thinks. And it's like, yeah, how could you ever be with a person who thought that about you, And it's terrible. And
she's like bad at fighting though, because she did have the moral high ground for a while. If she just stuck with, I spent 3 months doing all this hard work, and like you can't turn off the TV for a half hour, an hour. You can't do that this one time. Like, yeah. When the fucking 10th Shabbos is here, like, yeah, we'll put it on the TV, dude. It's cool.
Yeah.
And probably the game will be more exciting because there'll only be 40 games left or whatever. But like, yeah, if you go with like, I lowered myself to date you, you hideous troll man. Yeah, you sort of come off as the bad guy.
Yeah. And I don't know how you get back from that, really. I
know, right? I mean, it seems like these two, I kind of thought they were going to ride into the sunset together, but...
Oof, that's brutal. I don't know how you could be with someone who was like, do you know what people think when they see us in public? Fuck you. Oh my God, that's disgusting. Do you know, I'm $1 million catch because I negotiated my price Fuck off.
Yeah.
And it sucks because you're right. She had the moral high ground the whole time till that. And then she blew the argument, and it's like, ooh, oh, also you're bad.
Yeah, if this has been what's rattling around inside your head the whole time.
Also, if guys, gals, if you're out there thinking that about the person you're with, don't be with that person. Like, don't lower yourself. Don't feel like you're lowering yourself for anybody. That's not a gift you're giving to anybody.
Dude, maybe I just have someone that is better than me in so many respects. But, like, I just feel like I am a very lucky guy. I just feel very lucky.
Well, I think you are too. I think you're both lucky. I know you both very long time. I've known her longer, technically. I've known your wife since the day she was born. But I've known you for a long time too. So that's also something. But I think that's the best case scenario is when both people think they're lucky.
Yeah.
You know? That's the best.
That's ideal. I mean, but one person is luckier than the other. Is the problem.
Yes, that is also a very MacGruber / John Daly, Kristen Laffin way of looking at it. I mean, technically, there's no exact 50-50. What are the chances that would be a thing? So someone is luckier, and we'll find out after the break. And then they break up.
Just a super gal. Yeah, they do break up. And
he leaves it, and he says, "To think I bought a ring." And so he had a ring, and so from that angle, I get why you wouldn't bring up picking a date and stuff, because as the guy, you want it to be a surprise. And the proposal, you want to be a surprise, and I certainly went full surprise was the way I went. No talking about it, but. Yeah, and then he leaves, and it seems like, and it appears that they're broken up. Although it doesn't feel done to me, but I also don't know how you come back from what just happened.
I mean, I'll say the reason it doesn't feel done to me is that she's still Jewish.
Yeah, goddamn, what a hard. Oh yeah, I have some baggage from my past relationship. I'm a different religion now.
Yeah. It's like literally the thing from The Big Lebowski where Walter's like, I changed to be Jewish and I still observe, and everyone's like, come on, Walter.
Yeah.
All
right, let's go to Carrie. Let's finish this one.
Woo! In a timely manner.
Yes. So she says at the beginning that there's no greater sound than your friends laughing at your boyfriend's jokes, and that's when they're on the 1-on-4 date. Yeah, and I wrote down, John, I bet you kill in those scenarios. I
think I do too. And you know what? I think one of the reasons I think I do okay is because, like, you know how I guess this happens I think it happens in professional poker a lot, which is something so many people can relate to. But like, you remember the bad beats. You remember, like, the shit that went wrong is what you carry around like a rock in your shoe with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But like, I don't remember that many times or almost any time where I was like, I really beefed this. I really fucked this up with this friend, and like, it's over or whatever. Like, I think they all went very smoothly and fine. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in very good with Kristen's friends.
I think that what you and I have probably both found in situations like this is how low the bar is for dudes. I think is how I feel, at least, because I think I know you kill. I do pretty well in those scenarios too. The friends tend to like me, and it's like I'm not even doing anything. I don't feel like it, but it's still, it's just if you're not fucking mean or aggressively weird, I think like girls' friends tend to be pretty supportive, and and it's a fun way to have fun.
Yeah.
I think
he's hitting it off, he's fucking batting 1,000, and then on the way home they do talk about it, which I assume everyone does this.
Love the way home. Love the way home talk.
The way home is great, and you really get to dissect everything, and it's just the two people, and you really get to what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they are having a great time dissecting it because everything went great. And then he does like a kind of a weird thing. This is like, goes back to like, have you ever told a woman to shut up before or whatever?
Shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. But Carrie's talking and he just covers her mouth. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But at least I thought at least it was played in like a us in like a soft way. It was like soft, playful, you know.
Yeah. So, hey, stop talking.
Yeah.
Fake.
Thank you.
That was a fake one, dude.
No.
You were throwing fake ones in.
No.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want you to say anything back to me. Just listen to what I have to say. I love the way you listen to me.
Okay. He says, I love you.
I love you. I love you, listener. I love you.
John does love you. I love you, too. Thank you for listening and and following us at Sex in the City. It's on Instagram and all the places. But, yeah, he says, I love you. And then she marks out. She's like, I love you too, and I'm not saying that just because you did. And I think that's a cute thing when you both find you're excited to have reached the same level. But What have they been on? 4 dates? I mean, at this point,
again, the timing's impossible because they did meet before. They met around the same time as Charlotte and the Jewish man, Harry.
That's a good novel. Yeah, Charlotte and Jewish Man.
Harry came to the Hampstead or whatever it's called. Not Hamptons. That's what it is. The Hamptons wedding, and Jack Berger came, and that's when they kicked off their relationship, right? Basically. Yeah.
But then they're throwing out I love yous now, and they're both excited about it. That's great. So I want to ask you, John, what's the quickest you've ever thrown out an I love you?
I mean, I only 6 months. I'll say 6 months.
6 months from first date,
more or less.
Okay,
depending on how you do the math.
Right.
If you're Kristen, it might be 7 months, but
yeah, I'm like 4 to 6 months. I know that's a big range, but
you don't remember. I know.
No, I remember when it happened, but
Christmas.
like I know it happened, but like, where do we count from? I guess is the thing,
right.
You know. But yeah, 4 to 6 months. This seems to be like from first date, a month and a half, I would have to say.
I guess the bigger question is this a bigger question than I love you? But like, how soon do you bring your BF or GF around to meet your friends? Like,
I mean, quicker than I love you.
Yeah,
I would say,
it happened on the same night. It happened on the same night this time.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean. So it's that sort of like the night he meets your friends. It's an I love you night. You know, it's like that seems quick. I guess
it seems like improbable more than it seems quick to say I love you at this point because they've been through some ups and downs or whatever. Like they've already had X talks, but it's just more surprising that no one's met Jack Berger yet. Like that's crazy to me. Like you've been hiding him, Carrie. If this is
the fact they were all at the same wedding, too. You know, so yeah, they were around him even if they didn't meet him. So that happens, and then the next main thing that happens is that he shares his book. His book comes out, and he shares that. And first of all, the book cover sucks. And then if anyone wants to check out Jack Berger's book cover, it's not a good cover. And it's called Hurricane Pandora. Oh, and also Carrie says she's very excited at Zabar's, and she says, "I want to squeeze his face off." That was a quote that I wrote down. So he gives Carrie his book, Hurricane Pandora, and she takes it home to read. And then he shows up, and I think you definitely relate to the energy he shows up with, where he knows she's read the book, and he's sort of like fast talking. He's motor mouthed about it. He's like, "Are you done reading it? I can't be with a slow reader." And he's like distracting from. He's trying to do everything he can to distract from talking about his work. Which is which you do for sure.
You don't want to actually talk about the thing you did. No one wants to do that.
Yes, you hate that.
I do. I assume most people hate it. No one wants to talk about the things they did. I do here's what I want to talk about, Kevin, is that she flips to basically 20 pages into the book when she gets it. Mm-hmm. I noticed. And then the other thing is like, because he comes by and it's like 2 days later. This is a big fucking book. I don't know why it's a comedy book or a comedic book anyway. Like, unless it's like super large print, this is like a thick ass book and it takes 2 days to read. I cannot get behind that. I've never read a book in that short amount of time, I don't think.
I've read a book in a day, but I had pneumonia. So I had nothing else to do. And I literally couldn't leave my bed. It was the one time I had pneumonia. I read a book. I started a book in the morning and finished it that night. But I think the only way this makes sense is that Carrie works about 4 to 6 hours a week, I think, is what it seems like. So she has nothing else to do. And I do think if you're like into someone, I know the vibe of like being into someone and like, anything they do, I'm into now. You know what? I at least want to see. I want to check out. She does, and she likes the book. She says she's excited about how much she likes it because, John, what if you were with someone who did something creatively and it was bad?
I know. I wrote that same question.
Oh man, this is something. Well, especially in our relationships and our lives and who we are and what we do. This is a real thought. I think more than it is for a lot of people. But I don't think I could be with someone who did something. Who worked creatively and was not good at it. I don't think I could be.
My high school girlfriend did interpretive dance.
Oh my God.
And she did choreography or something, and it was just like, especially when I'm in high school me did not have like time to really be into dance at all, or like even put up a semblance of like.
That's weird because now you have a lot of time to be into dance.
Well, I think if I dated someone that was into choreography or dance, I'd at least be like, okay, dance is a good art form or something.
Sure,
you'd be. That.
Yeah, I get that. You'd be more like ready to be interested in it than you were then.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like I'm craving dance at this point.
Depends on who you talk to.
Or am I?
Yeah.
But yeah, and certainly then I was like, well, this is, and you know what? It just didn't come up that often. I don't know. I guess she just did that, and then independent of like our dating, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do feel bad because like sometimes like Kristen will like write something just like a business letter or like a big note to like friends or something as like an invitation, and she'll have me read through it.
Mm.
And sometimes like I'm giving her notes. I'm giving her like sometimes it's like more notes than she probably wants or deserves. But but it's just like you know. I don't know. Well, you wanted it, so here it is.
Well, and you're both like actual writers, So,
yeah.
And Kristen's like she's good at a lot of things, but she's a great writer too. And you're one of the two best writers I've ever met. I think I married the other one, so you
married James Joyce.
Fuck that, dude. Jamie's better than James Joyce.
Yeah,
but I totally get that. And then it's tough because when you care about the creative work you're doing, giving notes on it I could see how it can be tough. Jamie and I are pretty good about it, giving it about the note process with each other. Right. And I don't even. You guys are both like in the business. Sure, we're full on. This is what we do. This is our
So yeah, you definitely know that it's nothing personal.
Yes,
and like notes can be taken or left at any measure.
Yes, and the level of trust that we both know no one believes in the other one's talent more than the other person. I think that's a good place to come from because it can be tough and you're very vulnerable when your work is in front of someone else.
Oh, absolutely. Kristen has been working on a novel, and she will absolutely not let me look at it. Which is like so funny to be on the other end of that because like
that's you.
I hate no one can look at it even after I finish it. No one can look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So she's like very protective. It's like it's just funny to me. It was like I would never ever betray that. Like all you have to say is don't look at it. Like,
oh yeah.
I'm not gonna look at your fucking thing. Like I would kill someone.
Yes, you feel it for sure, and that's where in this episode, that's where a lot of their angst comes from, and it might seem to people that Berger is being an unreasonable baby. Here's the thing, he is, but this is also realistic. Like I think this is 100% realistic, and. It's weird. One big point in this episode, Carrie is the mature one in this relationship. she handles this ultimately pretty well. Now, she says that she loves the book. She's excited. He's excited to hear it. Then she says, but your heroine has a scrunchie. I don't think so. And then she thinks she's being playful, but she doesn't leave it the fuck alone. And the thing that makes me be like, Carrie's growing, is that she's talking to Miranda later, and she says, I just should have shut up about that. I should have left it alone. So that awareness is good, because yes, if you're reading a creative project by the person you're with and you feel positively about it, don't bring up the negative right away. Not even as a joke. You got to leave that alone. That's for later. And then that becomes all that they talk about. And then Berger shuts down. It's a baby move, but also I get it,
Right. Creative types are babies, basically, at their heart.
Because
you have to be creative. Yeah. Because it is like as cliche as it sounds, it's your baby too. That this is the thing that I molded out of clay, so please treat it gently. Scrunchy gay happens.
Scrunchy gay.
He shuts her down after she talks about Scrunchy gay, and then she's like, well, here's the things that I liked about the book. He's like, I don't want to hear any more about it, which I like. It is like a mirror.
It
sometimes.
Me.
It's like, no, I'm ready to. I think I've heard enough.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they go to dinner and she tries to make up. And it's like, that is a thing in relationships, though, where someone fucks up and they know they fucked up. Even if they didn't even if it's not like a thing that they really are responsible for, but they're just trying to make it better. They just want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Let's just get on with our lives. I just want to say the thing that makes it better. And then they just keep talking. And you know what? Nothing's making it better. And he does this passive aggressive thing. It's really just aggressive kind of, where she keeps talking and he just starts eating her dessert. At the fucking dinner, he eats her dessert. It's so funny. Where it's and she doesn't even acknowledge it. And maybe if I keep talking and say the right thing, he'll be happy.
Yeah.
And it's nothing is working, Carrie.
Dude, it's emotional relationship quicksand, where the harder you work, the deeper you get. And as a sensitive baby creative type, you become very sensitive to the authenticity of what the person is saying. I think this is, I will say I think I have a genuine mental emotional problem with many things, but specifically when people truly appreciate me, I'm suspicious of it. When if people fully love me, I'm like, are you tricked or what? Are you, the more he hears good about himself from her, the less he believes, and so the more she's not helping by saying this, and it's true, because really all she's doing is keeping the insecurity in the air between them. They can't move on while she's talking about it.
Every good thing you say about me just reinforces the idea that I'm a giant baby and I need to be pacified.
Yeah.
Because I'm a baby.
And then he pulls what he told Miranda only guys who aren't into the woman do, where he's like, I gotta get up tomorrow. And he said, guys don't, if they're into it, they come up. It doesn't matter if there's a meeting tomorrow, whatever. They're coming up to the apartment, which I think is generally true. But he's like, no, really, I'm going to leave. And then she chases him down. She doesn't let it go. She doesn't let them pretend that there's not something in the air. I think that's a mature thing.
No, this is a great move on Carrie's part.
Absolutely.
It really makes her seem heroic. Also, did we skip over the Georgia thing, the Macon, Georgia
thing?
We
did. Yes. And that's a massive deal. So
part of Scrunchy Gate. Scrunchy Gate.
Yes. They were at this hip restaurant.
They go to a hip, trendy place, because what Carrie said about the person in the book that Jack Beef wrote about is that his one of the characters, a female in the book, is running around Manhattan wearing a scrunchie, and he's like, well, lots of women wear scrunchies, not women that live on Perry Street, blah blah blah. And it's and then he gets sullen and despondent and John Daly and then cut to, they're at a fancy restaurant, a hip downtown place. and they're waiting in line to be sat, and they're waiting in line behind a woman who's wearing something that could be fashionable or it could be kind of not fashionable. It's hard for me to tell personally.
Right.
But she is wearing a scrunchie in the back of her hair. And I was watching with Kristen, and she was like, I wear scrunchies or something. It's like, okay.
Chris, we live on Long Island.
Exactly. We're bridge and tunnel people.
Yeah.
Berger's like, I can't help but tell. We're at this fancy place, and we're in New York proper. Those were his exact words. I did like New York proper. And this woman appears to be wearing a scrunchie, and then Carrie can't help herself. Even though she's been trying to dig her way out of this situation, she cannot help herself, which is like so, again, John Daly like to... They're somehow both the John Daly in this relationship.
Wow, what a scene for
why
you.
It works.
Yeah. More scenes should be like this, where I'm all the parts.
But yeah, she can't help herself but say like, well, she's not from Manhattan.
Right.
Like,
she's not a New Yorker. Like, because she wanted to let it go. And then he thought he had one. And she was being magnanimous about it. But then she's like, I can't. Look,
just let you win. Though.
No, you can't, because he didn't score more points. You didn't actually win.
Beef?
Scoreboard beef, hashtag scoreboard beef, hashtag big can't read. I know he can, but whatever. I thought this is really well played. She's like, she's not from New York. And she knows it. But she doesn't want this fight to go on. And then it gets called out. And he could have been cool. This could have been over if he was like, I cannot believe how hard I just biffed that. If the conversation turned into him being like, man, that was embarrassing. If he just called out what it was. But no, he corn cobbed up. He shrunk into a corn cob. He turtle shelled.
Well, I like that he asked the lady. That's like a cool move. It's like, yeah, you got to get to the bottom of it. You know? I don't know. I like that move. But yeah, then it turns out that they're from Macon, Georgia, and they're a couple of hicks, and yeah, of course they're wearing a scrunchie. So yeah. She
does the mature thing here. She chases him down. She doesn't let it go. She says something about making a mistake or something. And
I wouldn't. I'd hope you'd tell me if I ever made a mistake.
Yes,
is what she says.
Yes,
and then she says this with a fascinator on that looks like she's like one of the in the WAG section of the Kentucky Derby.
Good call. Yes, what a sequence of terms, but absolutely, she's a Kentucky Derby WAG. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that hat," and she turns around, and that is a mean thing to say. And then you see the dynamic where how quickly it shifts. This is a very relatable thing in a relationship too, where you have the upper hand because the other person is like trying to climb back to you, and then you go too hard, and then it's like, oh, now I'm climbing back to them. And he does physically walk back behind her as she's leaving, and she's like, no, the hat's good, whatever, fuck this. And
that's similar to Harry and Charlotte too, where it's like, Harry should have been doing the climbing for a while, and then Charlotte came too hard. She came over the top and fucking, dropped the nuke. And then that was, like, oh, now I'm the war criminal. Okay, great.
And then at the end of this, she does the hand over the mouth thing again to him, like this time. And she's like, I love your book, and I love you. I still think you're sexy. And you cannot make a joke right now. And she shuts it down. He's like, well, I have nothing to say. And it's her. I do think this is her being more mature. I don't think we've seen her be the more mature, like in control person in a relationship before. But I think she is in this moment. And I think that's interesting to see.
I wonder if early Carrie maybe could think of a relationship like this as disposable. Like, oh, he dissed my hat. All right, fine.
Oh, I think
I'll move on to the next guy. But like now, 35-year-old Carrie's like, my options are limited or whatever, where she's like, I don't know. Maybe I want to fight harder for this guy than I would have fought harder than I did before.
I think with every day, it's a little bit supply demand and knowing what your options are, but also being like, well, there's a real connection here on some level, so
Right.
I'm going to try to not toss it away in the way that I would have earlier. But yeah, that's
And it goes for both of them too. It's not just
does.
it's not just because she's a woman
No.
or anything.
and that's how we leave it. I think that is it.
I'm still hoping for a Charlotte bat mitzvah, I guess.
Ooh, oh yes, God, her and a bunch of teen Jews. Come on, what? And people listening to this, it's like it either has happened or it hasn't. I get it, but ooh, don't we all want to see it regardless? That sounds
I feel
good.
like I have. I shouldn't say anything, Kevin, because you don't know any spoilers, right?
I know a couple things. that
She
are-
marries a teenage boy.
God damn it, then they got canceled. Follow us at Sex and the City. It's on Instagram. Follow us at Sex City. It's pod on Twitter. If you haven't yet, please do write us a review. Give us a rating if you like us. And if you don't, keep it to yourself. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Kevin and John have not had much going on for the last 20 years that they've been friends. Still they miss that hit show that was on HBO. But it's time to whip out Cosmopolitans. Now they're just two dudes watching Sex in the City. And they're probably gonna miss the point. 'Cause they're Sex in the City. Oh.